Hi, my name is Mahyar. I'm the athletic therapist here at Canada's National Ballet School. Today in this video, we're going to go over a few exercises to help with your side leg extensions. When we think about this movement, it requires a great deal of flexibility and strength. So what we're going to do with these exercises, we're going to go over some stretches, mobility, and activation exercises. Before we get started, it's really important that you take time to do a good dynamic warm-up, 5 to 10 minutes, before getting into these exercises. I will explain when and when not to do these exercises so that it is the most helpful and effective for you. Before we get into any of the movements, I want to introduce Chloe and give her a special thank you for taking time to help us out with this video. So for our first exercise, we're going to have Chloe go into straddle. And with this exercise, where we want to feel the stretch is in the inner thigh. This is very important to know where you should feel each stretch and each movement. An area where you don't want to feel this is in the top of the hip, feeling a pinching type pain or pinching in the back of the hip. If you're doing that, you're probably you're stressing the joint, right? And we don't want to do that at all. If you do feel that, you could bring your legs in ever so slightly inwards, right? And that usually helps alleviate that pinching type pain. Chloe, let's get you back into. Perfect. So what we want to do also, Chloe's doing a great job of maintaining a nice neutral position of her spine. From here, what we can do is turn this into a bit of a mobility exercise as well. So what she can do is kind of hinge through the pelvis while maintaining her leg in that same position and not letting her leg kind of rotate inwards. And notice how she's going nice and slow and controlled and maintaining a nice neutral spine. Now, sometimes we see people round their low back, and this is not something we want to do. We want to kind of mimic as much as possible the movement, but in a nice, safe motion. Perfect. Another common thing we see when students go into this movement is they tend to hyperextend. So what we want to do is actually kind of relax the leg and have our focus be on the hip more. All right, so our next movement is going to be the hip 90-90. So you notice that, again, Chloe will try to keep a nice tall position of her neutral spine, and she wants to keep her femur at a perpendicular level with her body. You're creating a 90-degree angle with your knee and your hip. Now, an area, again, where you don't want to feel any pinching is the back hip, right? If you do, what you could do is move your leg ever so slightly forward, and usually that helps alleviate the pinching. Now, from this position, she's going to, again, hinge through her hip and come back. Similar to the first movement, she's trying to keep a nice neutral spine and kind of hinging right through the hip, not the low back. And now she's going to rotate to the other side, using her hands on the ground to make it a little bit easier. So she goes down for one and rotates to the other side. Again, this is a great exercise to help you feel the rotation through the hip and warm up the joint before getting into more complex movements. You might feel a little bit of a stretch in the front hip when you hinge forward. And again, no pinching in the back. All right, for our third movement, we're going to have Chloe put her leg on the bar. And what we're focusing on with this is a hip dissociation exercise. So we're trying to have her rotate one bone while stabilizing the other. This is very, very important, especially in a movement like leg extension to the side, because you want to maintain a nice, stable position of your stance leg and your pelvis. What we tend to see sometimes is students will hike up that hip, and we don't want to do that because you might feel some pinching, again, in the hip or in the low back. So she's doing a wonderful job of maintaining her core nice and straight and engaged and moving very slowly. Good. All right, for our fourth movement, we're going to have Chloe work on some activation now. So she's going to have one hand on her hip. She's going to keep a space between her obliques and the floor. By doing this, she's engaging her core and making sure that she keeps a good position of her spine. So what she's going to do now is she's going to do a turnout of her top leg and passe with a pointed foot. Hold for a few seconds and slowly back down. Again, now she should start to feel some engagement through her turnout muscle, her hip flexor, and also her core, similar to when we do an extension to the side. So now she's going to progress the exercise by actually doing a full développé while maintaining a good neutral position of her spine. Areas where you don't want to feel this is pinching in the hip, hiking of the hip, and you also don't want to feel any pain in the back. The other thing you want to look out for is you're not over bracing, right? If you're bracing too hard, you're going to see a rounding of your low back, right? Also, what you want to make sure is the opposite is not happening as well. You're not flaring your ribs. And closing an excellent job of keeping a nice slow tempo throughout the movement. Perfect. Key takeaways from today's video. We want to make sure that you spend a good amount of time doing a dynamic warm-up before getting into these exercises. Allot 5 to 10 minutes before to really get your core body temperature up and get your whole body kind of warmed up before getting into anything specific that we demonstrated today. Again, you want to make sure you're not feeling any pinching or pain with any of these movements. If you do, make sure you seek a healthcare professional to dive into why you're feeling those pains. Again, important that when we do movements that require static holds, you do those after your training, where you're no longer planning to do any active movements. Use it as part of your cool down. So before class, you want to do the dynamic movements. These are ideal because it will help you prime for movements that you will be required to do during class. For dance educators, you can incorporate these exercises at the beginning of your class to make sure your students are ready for any specific movements you want to work on in that session. Thank you for your time, and I hope this video helps dancers, parents, and dance educators moving forward.